welcome back to our reading of The Snowman by Michael Morpurgo. We're up to chapter 13. It was the owl that woke Grandma. She lay there for a while trying to go back to sleep, but the owl went on hooting, and the moon was shining brightly through her window. She just couldn't get back to sleep. So in the end, she got out of bed and went over to the window, hoping to at least see this noisy owl, because Grandma loved owls. And sure enough, she did see the owl flying round and round the oak tree. But she saw something else too. She saw James out there in the snow in the middle of the moonlit night, out there in his dressing gown and slippers. She was about to open the window and tell him to come in at once before he caught his death of cold when she saw something else, or rather, someone else with him. It was the snowman, the magnificent snowman James had made. To begin with, Grandma thought that James was just standing there looking up at his snowman, that he had gone out there in the middle of the night to make sure he was all right. And she thought that was kind of him and a very loving thing to do. If she called him in, then that might make his mum and dad wake up, and then James would get into trouble for being outside at night in the snow in just his dressing gown and slippers. So she stood there at the window and watched. And what did Grandma see? She saw the snowman move. She saw the snowman walking with his arm around James, away from the oak tree and down towards the gate into the garden. This must be a dream, she thought. I must still be asleep. I never remember my dreams, but I really hope I remember this one. Then, as she watched, and to her complete and utter amazement, the two of them started to dance. They were dancing in the snow. They were doing a jig together. She pinched herself hard to wake up, and then she knew that she had to believe her eyes, that she was already awake. But still, she had to make quite sure. She pulled on her dressing gown over her gym jams and went softly down the stairs. Putting on her wellies by the door, she stepped out into the cold, moonlit night. James and the snowman were still dancing and enjoying it so much that they didn't see Grandma coming towards them across the garden. The snowman turned and saw her first and stopped dancing. For a few moments, James went on dancing on his own. Then he saw Grandma too. He didn't know what to say. Nor did Grandma. Nor did the snowman. Grandma spoke first. "Did I just see what I thought I saw?" she asked them. They nodded. "Have you been out here long, James?" "Quite long, Grandma," he told her, finding his voice at last. "Long enough for Mr. Snowman to fly me all the way to the North Pole and back. Long enough to meet all of his snowmen friends and have an ice cream party and a knees up with them. Oh yes, and with Father Christmas too." That was the moment James knew why he felt so happy, so on top of the world. He was only stuttering a little now. Sometimes hardly at all. The words were flowing out of him, not tripping over one another like they usually did. It was as if he wasn't doing the talking at all, as if all the words were speaking themselves.